Greetings, my name is Kerry and welcome back to my channel. Today I have a book review for you, and this is for the book Heroine, Chic by James William Purcell Webster. I was sent this book by the publisher Inspired Quill for free in exchange for an honest review as part of the Indie Books Network, which is a network of people that want to promote books from small presses and independent publishers and just raise awareness of some of the great work that these publishers are doing. Very grateful to Inspired Quill for sending it to me and for Ninja Book Box, who have organised the Indie Book Network, which enabled me to get a copy of this book. This is a collection of very short stories, flash fiction and micro stories really. Most of them are a couple of pages, some of them are about a page long. I think there are, I can't remember exactly how many actually, about maybe 50 stories in here. Quite a lot anyway. I really enjoyed this book. I ended up having to read it quite quickly because of when I said I'd be able to review it, and actually apologies, it is slightly later than I planned the review to be, but just with moving and everything last month, did not have the time. It's a little bit later than I intended, but never mind, I'm reviewing it now. I really enjoyed it. What I found was that each of these stories is unique and they're all very quirky, and I really enjoyed that. There were lots of twists and turns even in the space of a few pages. The stories mostly left me wanting more, but in a good way. Like, I'd love to see how the author developed those themes over longer fiction, but his remit seems to be that he writes really short stories, and that's fine. That's what he enjoys doing. That's great. If he did take any of these ideas and develop them into a longer story or into a novel, I'd be really excited to read it. I did find that reading 5 or 6 stories in a row wasn't the most enjoyable way for me for reading this book. The times that I just read one story and just let it sit and rest with me for a while were the ones that I found more enjoyable. And when I was reading 5 or 6 in a row, in one sense I found them a bit repetitive because they followed a similar pattern in the sense of there was a setup, then there was a twist. And so in one sense that became a little bit predictable, but not necessarily in a bad way. I think just reading lots of these stories in quick succession, they lost their impact for me a little bit. So I'd recommend, if you are going to pick up this book, just read 1, maybe 2 a day and just let them sit and rest with you, and then you'll still get the momentum, that excitement of the twist. There were a couple of stories that really stood out for me, that stuck in my mind. You can see I've tabbed all the stories with just a couple of sentences about my thoughts and a review. The ones that stuck out that I've written a bit more about were one called The Only Little Girl in the World, which is set up to be a little bit like a fairy tale, and it's about a girl who makes friends with a dragon. There was one called The Girl with the Candle in Her Heart, which again I really loved, and it's about sort of working together to bring light to the world. There was one which, when I read it, I marked it as being 4 stars. It was called Blowing Up, but actually it's the one that stayed with me the most, which I would say, just because it felt to me like a really good analogy for anxiety and for mental illness, that it really reflected how it can feel sometimes to have this build up of microaggressions and then just sort of get to a point where you can't cope and then you have a bit of a meltdown, or in this case, because it's about a phoenix, an explosion, and then you get back to normal, you know, recovering from that moment and carrying on. And so I felt that was a really good analogy. There's one called The Librarian, which really captured the magic of the library. I think that were one that I really liked towards the end called Star-Crossed, which was a fun take on the story of Romeo and Juliet and someone sort of entering into that story. Those I think were the standout ones for me from this collection, but as I say, there are like 50 or more short stories in this collection, so everyone will have different favourites. I think different ones will stand out for you for different reasons. I really liked the diversity of these novels in the sense of they were all really quirky, but also in the sense of they represented lots of different character identities. There were stories about people with mental illness, about non-binary people, transgender people, and queer people, and people of colour. There were lots that felt like it was allegorical as well, which was really fun. Just really interesting takes on the sci-fi and fantasy genres and fairy tales and mythology and all of that sort of stuff. I also really love this cover. I just really think we need to acknowledge how beautiful this cover is. I don't really know what else to say about really. I think a lot of people really enjoy this book if they pick it up. If you aren't sure if you like short stories, these are super duper short, so it's worth giving them a try. Even if you don't like short stories in general, these are like, they're flash fiction, they're a couple of paragraphs, a couple of pages at most, so I'm sure even if you don't usually go for short stories, you'll find stuff that you enjoy in here. If you do like short stories, then I think you will really love this, particularly if you enjoy science fiction and fantasy. There's some really interesting takes on those genres in here, and just it's a really easy read. As I say, just pick up and read a couple a day, and I think you'll find it really mind-blowing and twisting. So I really enjoyed this book. I will be looking out for more books from the author. If they write another collection like this, I will look forward to taking my time over it and enjoying every morsel. If they decide to develop any of these ideas into longer stories, then I would be really excited to see where they take them. But I don't think I have anything more to say really, so let me know what you thought about this book, if you've read it, or if you'd like to pick it up. I really do highly recommend it. I will link to the publisher in the description box so you can go and find out. I think that they sell books directly. If they do, I will link specifically to this book. If not, I will link to somewhere that you can buy it. If I can find it on an independent bookseller website, I will put that link for you as well, so you can go and buy it from an independent bookseller and an independent publisher. Really, really worth checking out. But as I say, let me know if you've read it and what you thought of it, and go and check out the author and publisher. I'll also link to the author's blog where they publish lots more short stories and flash fiction, so you can check out more from them. Also in the description box will be links to my social media, so you can check out more from me and the Indie Book Network. I think there's a website, I should probably know that. So I will link to that as well, so you can check out more reviews of independent books. But that's it for today, so thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you again soon. Bye!